What's going on today, YouTube? Alright, so this is going to be a little bit different than what you guys are used to seeing on my channel. I'm going to have a little bit of a story time. If you guys follow me on Instagram or Snapchat, I posted about this on Instagram, about a conversation between a couple local vapors and myself, and it happened to get a lot of likes and not so much comment interest, but it generated some PMs to me, or I guess DMs, if you will. And on Snapchat, I posted the same picture, and a couple people noticed some weird things on my shoulder, and they're like, "What? Tell me more." So, if you know me in real life, you know my job that I have. I do work in the medical field. However, I am kind of subcontracted through the military of sorts, and this is something that my job relates to very closely and that I deal with on a military like level with veterans. So I can't go into too much detail about that, so I'll just leave that there. But this is the profession that I'm in a way, right? Is that what you say? Yeah. That's the best way that I can describe it without actually saying what I do, because I can't say what I do. But anyways, so this is about ghost stories and paranormal experiences that I've had, which is a ton, because this has been my life, and this is my sister who has witnessed almost all of the events except for the ones that have happened to me since I moved out. And for those, I have my husband that has witnessed them. So I've got plenty of people around me that have seen it who were non-believers and then are believers now because things have happened, unexplainable. And so if you believe it, that's cool. If that's what you're into and you want to keep listening and keep watching and hearing what we have to say, that's awesome. I will be glad to make more of these, because trust me, I could make this into a series of its own, and I could make tons and tons and tons of videos on this topic. So if you want to see more, go ahead and hit the like button and let me know in the comments below. If this isn't your thing, if you don't believe in this, that's okay too. You can go ahead and exit out of the video. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I understand there are people out there that don't believe in this stuff, as it's kind of hard to explain. So anyways, yeah, so without further ado, I guess we will get into one of the millions of stories that I have. So before this video, we were kind of talking about which one to go first, and we decided on one that happened to both of us when we were little, really little. So anyways, I'll let you tell the story.
So I'm the little sister. I grew up around her and her paranormal activity crap. So I'm a huge scaredy cat now. But her being the bigger sister, I always thought she was trying to play tricks on me and stuff. But as I've gotten older and we've gotten closer, and I figured she'd tell me if that was the case. Like I've realized that it's all very unexplainable, which makes it a lot scarier now. But one of the ones that freaks me out the most, still to this day, was when I was in 3rd grade and she was in 5th grade. We had our cousin who was in 4th grade stay over for a week in the summer. And it was a special occasion, so I was allowed to stay the night in her room, without any bullying or anything like that. Rare. And it was probably like the first week of August, so it was super hot.
Yeah.
It's like crazy hot. And we were all sleeping on the floor. It was really dark outside. It was really late because, we didn't have school or anything in the morning. Our parents were in bed. We were just watching a movie, probably talking. We were probably supposed to be asleep. I don't know. But we weren't. And I don't even think we had blankets on. It was so hot. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the temperature just got like ice. Like the air was just insanely cold.
Yeah, it wasn't like an air conditioning or anything. It was an actual drop in the room, like a sudden quick change from going really hot and humid to freezing, frigid cold.
Like besides the fact that our parents never turned the air conditioning on, so it would have been weird, especially as they were asleep. It also could not have dropped that quickly with air conditioning.
Yeah,
it was freezing. Because it wasn't like a breeze, right? It just was like
all of a sudden.
Yep. And when we were discussing what story to tell, Melissa reminded me of our dog who was in the room at the time. So when this cold happened, he was, what was he doing?
He was just sitting and staring at the wall, which would have been the same wall that the door to leave my room was on. He just kind of parked it there, and he stared, and you couldn't get him to move. And this was a dog where you could be rooms away, and you'd call his name, and he'd be right there. He listened to every command, and he paid attention to what was going on around him. So this was really out of character for him. He just kind of sat there and just stared right at the wall. Didn't move. Didn't move when you touched him. Didn't move when you called his name. Didn't move when you put treats in front of him. He just sat there and stared.
Yeah.
And he wasn't like in a you could tell he wasn't in a happy mood. He was a short-haired terrier, and the hair on his back was just straight up, like he was in an aggressive like stance. But he was sitting, and he just
like a daze.
Yeah, it was really weird.
Anyway, so Melissa had these staggered shelves on her wall that held her Curious George collection. And as soon as it got cold, we were debating, like, whoa, did you feel that? Like, I got goosebumps. Like, what was that? Am I the only one that's freezing? All of a sudden, whatever. We're in the middle of this conversation, and all of a sudden we just hear, like, a and everything on the shelf except one thing falls off. I don't know why it was this one item. It doesn't seem significant unless, for some reason, our little visitor had a thing for wooden push puppets. Really wanted that thing to stand out. I don't really know why, but there was one little push puppet guy that was still on shelf. And at this point, I was done. I was totally freaked out. I was like, "We have to go get Mom." I'm like crying. Melissa's just like, "Whatever, it's fine." Our cousin's saying it's probably an earthquake.
Yeah, we were little at the time. We live in Michigan, where an earthquake was
not an earthquake. Yeah. So we're freaking out a little bit. Well, I am. We all started freaking out when the next little series of events started to happen, and that was we were all on the floor. No one had been on the bed.
Before we go on with that, my mom was anal about how our bed was made, and she like did it military style, so everything was tightly tucked, and we hadn't, unless we were going to sleep in that bed, we knew not to get on that bed. So that's why we were all on the floor. And so yeah, there was nothing was with the blankets because they were pulled and they were taut around the mattress, and you couldn't.
So for some reason, we all were looking at the bed. It was weird. We all turned and looked, and it was unmistakable. You saw a person sit down on the bed, like without seeing the actual person. Like the indent was perfect.
Right.
And we watched the indent happen. Like it wasn't like, oh, while I wasn't looking, Steven went and sat on the bed to try and freak us out. It was like we watched the person sit. And at that point, I'm out of the room. I went to my stepsister's room, who was right next to us, and they came too. We slept on the floor. I refused to stay the night in that room. And ever since then, I've been really scared of that room. We don't live in that house anymore. There have been a couple things that happened in that room, and that one I just...
Too much. The door also had closed itself, and these were like 8-foot tall, heavy, solid oak doors in this house, and it had opened and then shut itself slowly, like a controlled movement of sorts. And there was nobody that had turned the doorknob. There was nobody on the other side. There was nobody upstairs with us. So yeah, it had opened itself and then closed itself quietly, like somebody had been.
And it was a newer house too, which is weird. Like I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, you live in a haunted house." Like there's no way. There's no way. It was a brand new house. I mean, there was one family before us that lived there. It was like a newer couple. They had just had a baby and they wanted to get somewhere bigger, which is weird because our family was bigger. But,
yeah, it was a really big house.
Yeah, so they moved. It wasn't like anyone died in the house or anything. But that's why I've always said I think she attracts it. Like there's something about her.
Yes, and that's why I have plenty of stories to share, because I've had multiple occasions where this has been something that has occurred. Pretty much it happens on a daily basis, and now I just kind of ignore it, but yes, it happens all the time. So there's that story. So if you guys want to see, or rather hear more of these, go ahead and comment below or hit the like button or whatever you want to do. Let me know, and I'd be more than happy to share some crazy ghost stories with you guys, I guess. Some of which I have kind of caught on camera, if you will. I have pictures. Like, for example, the one that I had posted the other day where people saw something over the back of my shoulder, and that led to another event that had happened in my kitchen that evening, and told her about it. And yes, so if you guys want to hear these stories, go ahead and let me know, and until the next time, I will see you guys later. Bye.